Hey there, it's Mark from Men Who Bullet. Thanks for checking out today's video where I'm going to show you my third stamp transfer method today. We have done the graphite transfer method in my very first video that I created around stamp carving. Since then, I also learned about the heat transfer method, which I used when we created our own custom-made party bags. And now I have found my favorite method, which is using a blender marker to take your laser jet prints and then turning them into stamps and transferring them that way. It's by far my favorite method, so I want to show you how I'm doing that today. And then we're also going to be carving a stamp. This is actually for week 2 of Block Party with Gina, which is a really fun stamp carving, not a competition, but just an event that happens throughout the year. And it's always super inspirational for me. So this week was all about memory. So I made a brain. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'll show you the transfer method that I'm using the blender marker, and then also go through the process and show you the stamp that I made as well. So let's get into it. The first thing that you're going to need is going to be the image that we are going to transfer onto the rubber block using this transfer method. This is something that I created inside of Procreate and then printed out on my LaserJet printer. It's really important that you use a LaserJet printer, not an inkjet, for doing this method. I also have my rubber block. That's what we're going to transfer the image onto. I have this right here, which I'm so excited about. So this is an AD marker, it's a blender. You can actually find this along with all the other materials that you see here over on my Amazon shop, which is amazon.com/shop/menwhobullet. And I'll link you actually in the descriptions below right to the entire list of all the different things that you'll need. So this is the marker that we're going to use for this transfer method. We've done the graphite transfer before. I tried the heat transfer that didn't go as well as I wanted to, but it worked. But this has been by far the easiest one to go with and do so far. The other thing that you're going to need is going to be the thing that you're going to also be carving your block with. I am absolutely in love with FlexCut carving tools. This is the micro palm set. It comes with 4 of the gouges here in different sizes, all pretty small. That's just the type of stamps that I'm creating, so the small one works out perfectly for me. You're also going to need something to put your shavings into. I just have a little mason jar that I keep off here to the side. And then I always say, get something to protect your surface, because that's really important, especially while you're cutting. So I have a little mini cutting mat here as well. Let's go ahead and get this onto the rubber block. So we're going to need a rubber block. We're going to need our LaserJet printed image, and then we're also going to need our blender marker here for this. We're going to flip this over and we're going to give ourselves just a little bit of extra room around the edges here. I don't want to get too close just because I like to give myself a little bit of working space, but I also don't want to put it smack dab in the middle of the rubber because that's wasting space. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your marker, and the marker is completely clear, but it does have a little bit of an odor to it. It has like a strong marker smell. So I just want to make sure you're prepared for that. Maybe use this in a well-ventilated area just because of how strong it is. What we're going to do is go ahead and take that, and we're just going to go right over top of our image until you can see through. This is helpful because you can make sure that you're getting all of the details of your print. I like to just really make sure I'm going over top of it. Go ahead and put that away. And then you're just going to take it and you're going to peel away your image. I love this method because this is the clearest image that I've received from any of these other methods. The graphite method I like because it's nice and easy and you can use that at any point, but you do have to go over your lines twice because the graphite can smear over the rubber. The heat transfer method, I don't know, maybe I wasn't doing it right, but I didn't love that one. I did get a pretty good image, but it did melt the rubber. I probably just had it on too high of heat. This method though, while the marker is a little stinky, use it in a well-ventilated area. You don't have to worry about it, and it gets a really good image on here. So we're going to go ahead and carve out this stamp. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm actually just going to remove all of the rubber, the pink rubber part, and we're going to leave the black image here, and that's what we're going to be stamping. My first step is going to be just to cut around this brain a little bit. Once I have off that larger chunk, then I can go back in and get a little bit more detailed. I like to give myself a little bit of space of working room, and I'll trim it up more as I go around it. But make sure not to get too close just yet, just in case you slip or you make a mistake. You don't want to cut into your rubber stamp. Whenever I start and I do my outline first, I always start with this 45-degree 1mm V-cut. That gives me exactly what I need to get into those fine details, and then I'll slowly carve away from there. Now that I got all those smaller details in there, I'm going to go in with the next size up, this rounded edge gouge. I still need to get into a little bit of detail around these inside edges, but the first thing I'll do is go in with my larger gouge. This is going to be the 2.5, much wider, and I'll just take out the rest of the rubber all the way around and clean up the edges. Now that I've got this in a relatively good space, I'm going to go in just a little bit closer with detail, and then we'll do our first print to see how it looks. All right, we got all into that nitty gritty inside of here the best that I could. The best way to really make sure that you got all of the pieces is to actually ink it, because you'll start to see anything that might be raised up a little bit more than usual. So let's go ahead and do our first print. I want to see how this bad boy turned out. I'm really excited about it. I don't know, I always love doing this because anytime you create something and then you carve it, it's just such a cool, satisfying feeling to be able to ink it for the first time and being able to print it for the first time too. It's like watching all of your little dreams come to life. At least that's how I look at it. All right, so overall everything looks good. I don't actually see anything too raised up, so this should be a good solid print. Let's lay it down. Yeah, loving that. That's such a cool brain. This is my creative brain. This is what I think memories look like inside my brain, just scattered all over the place. I really appreciate you carving this along with me today and also checking out this very cool but stinky blender marker transfer method. Still my favorite method, hands down. It's so super easy. You can check out all the materials over on my Amazon shop, amazon.com/shop/menwhobullet. Everything there is for you, including the rubber stamps and blocks that I use, including the flex cut tools. Everything's there. So thanks again so much for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you very soon. See ya.